Alexandra Eala from the Philippines, and has a huge win for her.
Calling it the moment that shocked even the Nadal Academy. If you look closely at the back of Alex Eala's visor, you'll notice a powerful line stitched into the fabric, a simple phrase in Tagalog that carries a deep meaning. Asterisk, once it grows, it cannot be stopped. Asterisk, those words perfectly captured what unfolded at Wimbledon. During her press conference on July 2, 2026, Eala reflected on that message after producing one of the most remarkable performances of her young career. She had just walked off court 12 at the All England Club and into tennis history, becoming the first Filipina in the Open era to reach the third round of a Grand Slam singles tournament. After dropping the opening set, Eala responded with incredible composure and determination, defeating Australia's Maya Joint 3-6, 6-2, 6-0 in a stunning comeback. Joint had entered the match full of confidence after an impressive victory in the previous round, making Eala's dominant turnaround even more extraordinary. Just one day earlier, Eala had cruised past Renata Zarazua 6-1, 6-2 in only 1 hour and 18 minutes. She never looked like a player struggling through a demanding Grand Slam schedule. Instead, she appeared calm, fresh, and in complete control, as if she had been conserving her energy for something much bigger. Looking back now, it is clear exactly what she had been preparing for. To truly appreciate the magnitude of this breakthrough, you have to understand where her journey began. Before Wimbledon 2026, Alex Eala had played in 6 Grand Slam main draws throughout her career. Her best previous result had been reaching the second round of the US Open the year before, while 4 of her 6 Grand Slam appearances had ended in first-round defeats. Earlier this season at the Australian Open, despite arriving ranked inside the world's top 75, she suffered a difficult opening round loss after being overwhelmed in the first set. Those setbacks only made her rise at Wimbledon even more remarkable. What fans were witnessing was not just another tournament run. It was the arrival of a player who had learned from every disappointment, grown stronger with every challenge, and was now proving on one of tennis' biggest stages that her time had finally arrived. For the first time in her career, Alex Eala arrived at a Grand Slam as a seeded player.
Hindi nahihinto. And that loosely translates to once it grows, it cannot.
Name on the Wimbledon draw sheet was the number 29, a remarkable achievement considering that just 12 months earlier she had been ranked number 140 in the world. That dramatic rise tells the story of a player whose career had reached a turning point. Over the past year, the 21-year-old climbed more than 100 places in the rankings, captured her first professional grass court title, and quietly transformed from a promising young talent into an opponent that the biggest names on the WTA Tour could no longer overlook. Yet despite all that progress, one important question still lingered. Could she put everything together at a Grand Slam? Not for a single upset or one memorable match, but for a deep tournament run. Her previous results left room for doubt. Her breakthrough victory over a top player in Miami in 2025 had come on a hard court during a regular tour event, not on the sport's biggest stage. Her Grand Slam record, meanwhile, suggested a player who was still learning how to navigate the unique pressure of major championships. Earlier this year at the Australian Open, she endured another painful setback, losing to Alicia Parks after being shut out 6-0 in the opening set before falling in 3 sets. It marked her third first-round exit at a Grand Slam and raised the same quiet question that many around the tennis world were thinking but rarely said aloud. Could Alex Eala consistently deliver when the stakes were highest? That silent doubt became the true opponent in her journey, not another player across the net, but an unanswered question that had followed her for 2 years. On Thursday at Wimbledon, she finally delivered the answer in spectacular fashion. Her performance on court 12 was more than just a victory, it was a statement. Even before the first ball was struck, she carried a powerful reminder of who she was and where she came from. The visor she wore featured the sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines, carefully stitched into its design. It was the same flower she had proudly worn in her hair during Wimbledon the previous year, symbolizing her roots and the people she represented. During her press conference, Eala explained that honoring her culture gives her confidence and reminds her that every step she takes on the world's biggest tennis stages is about something far greater than herself. Alex Eala believes that carrying pieces of her culture onto the tennis court is more than a personal tradition, it is part of her identity. The symbols she wears are not simply decorations, they remind her of where she comes from and the person she hopes to become. Speaking to reporters, she explained this with quiet sincerity, avoiding the usual cliches often heard in post-match interviews. Instead of making a speech, she let her tennis do the talking. Her performance at Wimbledon reflected every word she had spoken. Being seeded number 29 was more than just a number beside her name. It was proof that the tennis world had already begun to recognize her as a genuine contender. For the first time in her career, she entered a Grand Slam without being viewed as an unknown underdog. Long before fans celebrated her historic run, the rankings had already acknowledged her progress, and before the rankings rewarded her, she had spent countless hours developing her game at the Nadal Academy in Manacor. The evidence of that hard work was obvious from the opening round. Against Renata Zarazua, Eala delivered one of the most complete performances of her career. She created 17 breakpoint opportunities, converted 4 of them, struck 22 clean winners compared to her opponent's 11, and never lost her serve throughout the entire 1 hour and 18-minute match. Those weren't the statistics of a player desperately trying to survive. They were the numbers of an athlete confidently controlling every aspect of the contest while conserving energy for the bigger challenges ahead. As she left the court, another unforgettable moment awaited her. Looking into the stands, Eala was stunned to see what felt like a home crowd in the heart of Wimbledon. Thousands of Filipino supporters had filled the seats, waving flags and cheering every point. Smiling afterward, she admitted she never imagined experiencing that kind of support so far from home, saying the Filipino community continues to surprise her in the best possible way. Considering that Wimbledon tickets are among the hardest to secure in all of sports, their presence made the moment even more meaningful. They hadn't gathered there by coincidence. They had come because they believed in her long before the rest of the tennis world did. Then came the match that changed everything. Her second-round opponent, Maya Joint, entered court 12 overflowing with confidence after producing one of the tournament's biggest surprises in the previous round. Having already eliminated a highly accomplished opponent, Joint was widely viewed as one of the breakout stories of Wimbledon. But what unfolded next would become an even bigger headline, as Alex Eala was about to show the world that her historic run was only just beginning. Maya Joint stepped onto court 12 ranked number 87 in the world, carrying enormous confidence after one of the biggest victories of her career. She had already defeated Alex Eala once before, winning their previous meeting in the Eastbourne final, giving her a 1-0 head-to-head advantage. On paper, this was far from an ideal matchup for Eala. It was exactly the kind of dangerous second-round challenge that could end a breakthrough Grand Slam run before it truly began. When Joint claimed the opening set 6-3, it seemed as though the familiar questions surrounding Eala's ability to make a deep run at a major were about to resurface. But then everything changed. Eala raised her level dramatically, attacking returns with confidence, serving with greater precision, and taking control of the rallies with remarkable composure. She stormed through the second set 6-2, completely shifting the momentum of the match. What happened next was the defining moment of her tournament. In the deciding set, against the player who had stunned one of the biggest names in tennis only 2 days earlier, Eala produced a flawless performance. She won the final set 6-0, delivering a stunning bagel on the grass courts of Wimbledon to secure the biggest Grand Slam victory of her career. There was no need for exaggeration. The scoreline spoke for itself. The contrast made the achievement even more powerful. Just 6 months earlier at the Australian Open, Eala had been the one who suffered a 6-0 opening set during a painful first-round defeat. Now, on one of the sport's greatest stages, she was handing that very same scoreline to her opponent in the match that made her the first Filipina of the Open era to reach the third round of a Grand Slam singles event. It was a symbolic moment that showed just how far she had come. Looking at the bigger picture, this breakthrough was never simply the result of one incredible week. When Eala climbed into the world's top 32 after beginning the previous year outside the top 140, it became clear that this was not a sudden breakthrough but the reward for months of steady improvement. Her rise had been building throughout the season. In June, she captured the Birmingham Classic, winning her first professional grass court title after another impressive comeback in the final. She then arrived at Wimbledon full of confidence, dominated her opening round match without dropping serve, and followed it with an unforgettable comeback against Maya Joint. Every victory connected to the next, forming a clear pattern rather than an isolated success. Behind that transformation stood years of dedication at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, where Eala has trained since her early teenage years. Before Wimbledon even began, the academy proudly celebrated her journey from the Philippines to Spain, describing her story as truly inspiring. As her historic run continued, the academy's belief in her no longer looked like optimism, it looked like prophecy. Before Wimbledon even began, the Rafa Nadal Academy proudly highlighted Alex Eala's remarkable journey from the Philippines to Manacor, describing it as an inspiring story and wishing her success in her Wimbledon debut. That support is well documented. Over the past year, Rafael Nadal has also spoken positively about Eala's development, and the academy has consistently presented her as one of its brightest success stories. However, one rumor that quickly spread across social media claimed that Nadal was personally shocked by her Wimbledon performance and released a dramatic statement immediately after her second-round victory. As of this recording, there is no verified evidence from official interviews or primary tennis sources to support that claim. What is confirmed is something far more meaningful. The academy that helped shape Eala's game believed in her long before the rest of the tennis world caught up. They celebrated her journey before she had even won a match at Wimbledon, and when she went on to win two, their confidence simply proved to be well-placed. Sometimes great coaching is not about being surprised by success, it is about recognizing years of hard work finally producing the results everyone inside the team believed were possible. Now, however, the challenge becomes even greater. Waiting for Eala in the third round is defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek, one of the most accomplished players of her generation and a multiple Grand Slam champion. Their head-to-head record stands at 1 victory each, with Eala's unforgettable win coming in Miami in March 2025, a result that stunned the tennis world and instantly became one of the season's biggest highlights. Yet even that victory left one important question unanswered. Could she repeat that success on the sport's biggest stage, in a Grand Slam, under the immense pressure of Wimbledon? Swiatek enters this matchup looking increasingly dangerous after rediscovering her best form in the second. When reporters asked Eala about the challenge ahead, she answered with quiet confidence rather than bold predictions. She acknowledged the difficulty of facing a champion who has proven herself on every surface, but she also made it clear that she intended to make the match just as difficult for her opponent. Most importantly, she said she was ready to face the challenge head-on. Those words reflected the mindset of a player who no longer sees herself as an outsider simply hoping to compete. She understands the stage she has earned, and she has no intention of shrinking under its spotlight. Stepping back to see the bigger picture makes her achievement even more extraordinary. In the Open era, no Filipino singles player, male or female, had ever reached the third round of a Grand Slam until Alex Eala accomplished it at Wimbledon. The last Filipino to reach that stage of a major singles event came decades earlier during the amateur era, making this breakthrough far more than a personal milestone. It represents a historic moment for Philippine tennis, ending generations of waiting and opening a new chapter that countless young athletes can now dream of following. History did not change in a single afternoon. It was built through years of perseverance, sacrifice, and belief, finally coming together on the grass courts of Wimbledon. The significance of this breakthrough becomes even clearer when you remember where Alex Eala's journey stood just a few months ago. Only 6 months earlier, at the Australian Open, she walked onto Kia Arena and suffered one of the toughest defeats of her season. Alicia Parks dominated the opening set 6-0 before eventually ending Eala's campaign in the first round, marking her third opening round exit at a Grand Slam. After the match, Eala spoke with honesty rather than excuses, while the Rafa Nadal Academy shared a message that perfectly captured the moment. Asterisk, not all victories are won on court. Asterisk, those words reflected the belief that growth often happens long before the results appear on the scoreboard. Over the following months, Eala quietly transformed her game. She climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 29, captured her first professional grass court title at the Birmingham Classic, and arrived at Wimbledon playing the best tennis of her career. The painful 6-0 set she endured in Melbourne did not define her season. It became the challenge she eventually overcame. At Wimbledon, she responded by delivering a 6-0 deciding set of her own in the biggest victory of her Grand Slam career. That was more than revenge against past disappointment. It was proof of her evolution as a competitor. Suddenly, the message stitched onto the back of her visor carried even greater meaning. Asterisk, once it grows, it cannot be stopped. Asterisk, what once sounded like a simple personal motto now feels like the perfect description of her rise. Alex Eala is no longer simply remembered as the talented junior who won a Grand Slam girls title and showed exciting potential. She is now a seeded player at Wimbledon, a third-round Grand Slam competitor, and the athlete who defeated Maya Joint with a dominant 6-0 final set after Joint had entered the tournament as one of its biggest stories. Her efficient first-round performance, followed by that unforgettable comeback, has taken her somewhere no Filipino singles player has reached during the Open era. Whether she defeats Iga Swiatek in the next round is almost secondary to what she has already accomplished. The true story is that Alex Eala now belongs in the same conversation as the sport's biggest names. She has earned her place on the second-week stage alongside the world's elite. At just 21 years old, she has shown the resilience to overcome setbacks, the composure to thrive under pressure, and the belief to seize history when the opportunity arrived. Real turning points are rarely defined by a single spectacular moment. They are built through years of hard work, quiet perseverance, and steady progress until one day the entire world finally notices. That is exactly what Wimbledon 2026 represents for Alex Eala. It is not the end of her story, it is the beginning of a new chapter. Thank you for watching. If you're excited to follow Alex Eala's journey through Wimbledon, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us know in the comments when you first became a fan. We'd love to read your stories before her next match.